The summer of 1995 in Reno was hotter than usual, the desert sun casting a relentless glare over streets lined with casinos, motels, and strip malls. On the evening of August 12th, 28-year-old Vanessa Hartman left her job at a local diner after her night shift. Known for her infectious laugh and quick wit, Vanessa was a single mother working tirelessly to support her 8-year-old son Ethan. She carried her purse and a small tote bag containing notebooks, personal items, and a few groceries, heading to the bus stop just a block from the diner. Vanessa's route home was familiar and routine. She had walked it countless times, passing the same convenience store, a small park, and the familiar alleyways behind the apartment complex where she lived. But that night, she never made it home. When her absence was noticed hours later, concern quickly turned into alarm. Her manager called her parents, Linda and Marcus Hartman, and when phone calls to her cell and home went unanswered, they reported her missing to the Reno Police Department. Detective Simon Carver, assigned to the case, immediately recognized the urgency. Vanessa was responsible, careful, and familiar with her surroundings. Her sudden disappearance was out of character. The initial investigation began with interviews of co-workers, neighbors, and anyone who might have seen her that night. Witnesses recalled a figure following Vanessa from the diner to the bus stop, a tall man in a dark jacket, but details were vague and inconsistent. A few residents reported seeing a dark-colored sedan parked near the alley, but no license plate information could be obtained. The early investigation faced obstacles. Surveillance cameras were rare and of low quality, and the high foot traffic in the area made eyewitness accounts unreliable. Officers canvassed the neighborhood, questioning passers-by, reviewing any records that could shed light on Vanessa's movements. Despite their thorough efforts, leads were thin, and the trail quickly went cold. The city, bustling and transient, offered too many unknown variables for investigators to follow conclusively. Vanessa's family endured the uncertainty with deep anguish. Linda Hartman organized neighborhood search parties, distributing flyers and calling local media outlets. They knocked on doors, spoke to store clerks, and posted photos of Vanessa in busy areas of Reno, hoping someone would remember a detail that could break the case. Friends and co-workers joined in, sharing her picture and reaching out to anyone who might have information. Despite the efforts, weeks passed with no confirmed sightings or clues. The case remained active but unresolved. Detective Carver kept detailed notes and revisited the initial investigation regularly, understanding that small, overlooked details could become critical as time passed. He cataloged witness statements, timelines, and minor inconsistencies, believing that eventually advances in technology could bring clarity to a case that had gone dark. By the mid-2000s, Vanessa's disappearance had transitioned into cold case status. The Reno Police Department had established a unit dedicated to investigating unsolved cases, and Detective Clara Vega, a meticulous and driven investigator, took on Vanessa's file. She reviewed every document, re-interviewed original witnesses, and scrutinized all preserved evidence. Even minor details previously dismissed were re-examined for significance. Vega's team discovered materials that had been carefully stored, a partial fingerprint on the diner's back door, fibers collected from a nearby bench, and personal items found near the alley. While these items were considered minor at the time, advancements in forensic science allowed for more precise testing. DNA extraction techniques and fiber analysis had progressed, enabling investigators to derive conclusive information from materials that had been largely ignored in 1995. In 2020, the preserved fingerprint was processed through an updated national database, resulting in a match. Michael Redford, a man with a history of minor offenses in northern Nevada, emerged as a potential suspect. Investigators cross-referenced his known movements with Vanessa's last seen locations. Witnesses from the original investigation, when re-interviewed with careful prompting and visual aids, recalled seeing a figure matching Redford's description near the diner and along the route Vanessa took to the bus stop. While the memories were faint, when pieced together with the new forensic evidence, they formed a coherent narrative. The cold case unit reconstructed a detailed timeline for the night of August 12, 1995. Vanessa had left the diner around 11:05 p.m., walked along West 2nd Street, and was last seen near the alley behind her apartment complex. Redford's activities, confirmed through utility records, employment logs, and witness accounts, placed him within proximity of these locations. Every piece of data previously isolated now fit into a larger puzzle, suggesting that Vanessa's disappearance was the result of deliberate actions rather than random misfortune. Investigators examined Redford's old residences and storage units. They recovered clothing, personal effects, and miscellaneous items. Fiber analysis linked several of these objects to items found near Vanessa's last known location. Biological materials, including traces of hair, were tested against Vanessa's DNA, confirming physical contact. These discoveries, decades in the making, were pivotal in connecting Redford directly to the case. During interrogation, Redford initially denied any involvement. Detective Vega and her team presented the cumulative evidence methodically. Fingerprints, fibers, DNA matches, and corroborated witness statements. Hours of questioning followed, alternating between evidence presentation and strategic pauses to allow him to speak. Faced with the weight of decades of analysis and modern forensic confirmation, Redford admitted to being near Vanessa that night, attempting to downplay the severity of his actions. Investigators continued to map Redford's activities, combining witness statements, physical evidence, and timeline reconstruction to create a comprehensive narrative. They visualized Vanessa's last known movements alongside Redford's locations, demonstrating opportunities for interaction and interception. Spatial analysis confirmed that his presence aligned with her disappearance, reinforcing the theory that her abduction was deliberate and targeted. Community reaction was intense as news of the breakthrough emerged. Residents who had followed Vanessa's case for years expressed relief and cautious hope. Local media covered the story extensively, highlighting the combination of persistence, forensic science, and careful investigation that had finally led to a suspect. Family, friends, and community members revisited memories of Vanessa, honoring her life while hoping for justice. Vanessa's parents provided detailed insight into her routines, habits, and character, assisting investigators in reconstructing critical aspects of her life that could corroborate timelines. Their input helped validate witness statements and ensure the narrative accurately reflected her typical movements and decision-making patterns. The human element of the case, her compassion, diligence, and daily routines, was crucial in presenting a compelling, relatable story to the public, and later, the jury. The cold case unit meticulously prepared the evidence for prosecution. Every fiber, fingerprint, DNA match, and witness account was documented and analyzed, forming an integrated chain of proof. Visual aids, reconstructed maps, and a precise timeline were prepared to present the case clearly and convincingly. The goal was to demonstrate that the evidence gathered and preserved over 30 years formed a consistent, irrefutable narrative linking Redford to Vanessa's disappearance. The investigation also included reviewing patterns in Redford's behavior and prior offenses. Historical records indicated tendencies for stalking and loitering in areas similar to Vanessa's known route. While these past actions did not prove guilt independently, they provided context for understanding his behavior and potential motives, reinforcing the overall investigative narrative. As the case moved toward formal charges, every piece of evidence, every witness, and every reconstructed detail was scrutinized. The team ensured that each element could withstand the rigor of cross-examination, anticipating challenges from the defense. Their work demonstrated the importance of patience, persistence, and the integration of evolving forensic technology in solving cold cases. Vanessa's family and community organized memorial efforts to honor her life. Scholarship programs, community vigils, and public awareness campaigns celebrated her warmth, determination, and contribution to the community. These efforts ensured that her story would not be defined solely by tragedy, but by the enduring impact of her life and the persistence of those seeking justice on her behalf. Detective Vega reflected on the significance of the case. She noted that even decades-old mysteries could be resolved through meticulous attention to detail, careful preservation of evidence, and the use of modern forensic science. No case is ever truly gone, she said. Time may obscure the facts, but it does not erase the truth. Vanessa's story shows that patience, persistence, and the right tools can bring justice, even after 30 years. By 2022, investigators were ready to bring the case before the district attorney. The compilation of evidence, witness statements, and reconstructed timelines created a compelling, cohesive narrative. Every detail, no matter how minor, had been examined, verified, and integrated into a story that was both scientifically sound and emotionally resonant. Once Michael Redford was located and detained, the focus shifted to reconstructing the events of August 12, 1995, with meticulous precision. Detective Clara Vega and her cold case unit were determined to establish a timeline so thorough that it would leave no gaps for doubt. While witness memories from nearly 30 years prior were faint, the preserved physical evidence provided anchors to verify the reconstructed narrative. The first step was mapping Redford's confirmed movements that night. Grainy security footage from a nearby gas station placed a dark sedan near the alley behind Vanessa's apartment. Combined with employment records and utility data, investigators could verify his presence within walking distance of Vanessa's route. Each detail reinforced the likelihood that he had the opportunity to intercept her. Fiber analysis became central to connecting Redford to the scene. Fibers recovered from a bench and the lamppost near Vanessa's last sighting were tested against materials from his former residences. Laboratories confirmed matches with high specificity, demonstrating that Vanessa and Redford had been in direct proximity. Trace amounts of hair, preserved in dust samples, matched Vanessa's DNA, further corroborating the connection. Witnesses were re-interviewed using modern cognitive interviewing techniques. A local shopkeeper who had noticed a tall man near the diner recalled, when prompted with photographs, a figure consistent with Redford's appearance. Another witness remembered a person near the alleyway moments later, speaking to someone who matched Vanessa's description. These recollections, though faint, aligned perfectly with the forensic evidence and timeline, creating a coherent narrative of events that had been hidden in the shadows for decades. Redford's stored belongings yielded additional proof. Clothing, personal effects, and miscellaneous items recovered from his old storage units matched fibers found near the alley and diner. Some of Vanessa's personal items, including fragments of notebooks and a scarf, were recovered, linking her presence directly to objects in Redford's possession. Every item strengthened the chain of evidence connecting suspect and victim. During interrogation, Redford initially denied involvement. Clara Vega presented the accumulated evidence methodically: fingerprints, fibers, DNA matches, and witness accounts. Hours of questioning alternated with pauses, allowing him to speak, carefully observing inconsistencies in his statements. The strategy was patient but relentless, demonstrating how overwhelming evidence could break through decades of evasion. Faced with incontrovertible evidence, Redford eventually admitted to being near Vanessa that night, but attempted to minimize his actions. Every admission he made confirmed crucial details: his location, the timing, and interactions that aligned with witness accounts and forensic findings. Investigators meticulously documented each statement, ensuring it could be introduced during prosecution to corroborate physical evidence and reconstruct the sequence of events. Spatial analysis played a critical role in solidifying the narrative. Vanessa's route from the diner to the bus stop in the alley behind her apartment was mapped alongside Redford's vehicle locations, movements, and sightings. This visualization demonstrated the opportunity and likelihood of an encounter, reinforcing the conclusions drawn from forensic evidence. Each step was verified against multiple sources to ensure accuracy and credibility. Community involvement remained vital. Friends, neighbors, and former colleagues followed developments closely, sharing memories of Vanessa and providing additional context for investigators. Social media campaigns and local news reports revived interest, reminding residents of the human being behind the cold case. Personal accounts emphasized her warmth, humor, and dedication as a mother and friend, adding emotional weight to the legal narrative. Vanessa's parents, Linda and Marcus Hartman, contributed significantly to the investigation. Their knowledge of her daily routines, habits, and typical paths helped verify reconstructed timelines and cross-check witness statements. Their participation ensured that the case accurately reflected Vanessa's life and movements, reinforcing both the integrity of the investigation and the emotional impact of the narrative. Investigators also examined Redford's historical behaviors. Past incidents of loitering, minor offenses, and reports of suspicious activity provided context for his actions. While these incidents did not directly prove guilt, they helped establish behavioral patterns consistent with the events surrounding Vanessa's disappearance. This holistic approach combined physical evidence, eyewitness testimony, and behavioral analysis to form a comprehensive understanding of the suspect's actions. Every element of the investigation underwent rigorous testing and verification. DNA samples, fibers, and fingerprints were analyzed multiple times to ensure accuracy. Dr. Jonathan Hayes confirmed that the methods used were scientifically sound, and that all results were consistent with Vanessa's presence and Redford's proximity. Meticulous documentation ensured the evidence could withstand cross-examination and legal scrutiny. In preparation for trial, the cold case unit organized all evidence into a clear and compelling narrative. Visual aids, reconstructed maps, and chronological timelines were designed to illustrate Vanessa's movements, Redford's proximity, and the placement of physical evidence. The goal was to present a story that was both scientifically robust and emotionally resonant, conveying the human tragedy alongside the investigative rigor. Redford's behavior during preparation for trial was closely monitored. Despite attempts to appear cooperative, investigators noted inconsistencies and evasions. His prior admissions, combined with physical evidence, left little room for defense strategies based on denial or doubt. Every misstatement was carefully documented, forming part of a broader strategy to present an airtight case. Community response was significant. Local media highlighted the power of forensic advancements, the importance of preserving evidence, and the determination of law enforcement in pursuing justice for Vanessa. Her case became an example of how modern technology and dedicated investigators could solve cases long thought unsolvable, inspiring hope for families of other missing persons. The prosecution worked closely with witnesses, forensic experts, and investigators to prepare them for courtroom testimony. Mock examinations, simulations, and review sessions ensured clarity and consistency. Each element of the narrative, from decades-old recollections to modern forensic evidence, was integrated into a coherent story that jurors could understand and trust. The human element of the case remained central. Vanessa's life, routines, and character were highlighted to emphasize the personal stakes. Her humor, intelligence, and devotion as a mother were not just anecdotes but essential to understanding the profound impact of her disappearance and the necessity of justice. As preparations concluded, the cold case unit felt confident in the strength of the evidence. Every fiber, fingerprint, and trace of DNA had been carefully verified. Every witness statement had been cross-checked and corroborated, Every timeline had been meticulously reconstructed. The case that began in 1995, once clouded by uncertainty and frustration, had been transformed into a compelling, evidence-backed narrative ready for the courtroom. The team reflected on the broader significance of the case. It demonstrated the importance of patience, meticulous investigation, and the integration of modern forensic technology with traditional detective work. It illustrated that even after decades, truth could emerge, providing justice for victims and closure for families. Vanessa's parents, friends, and community members remained steadfastly involved. They participated in memorial efforts, established scholarships in her name, and advocated for improved cold case protocols. Their efforts ensured that Vanessa's memory remained alive, her life celebrated, and her story shared to inspire and inform others. The culmination of Part 2 left investigators ready for the final stage: prosecution, trial, and ultimate justice. Every piece of the puzzle, from preserved physical evidence to eyewitness recollections and suspect admissions, had been verified and integrated. The narrative of Vanessa Hartman's disappearance was now complete, leaving only the courtroom to deliver the long-awaited resolution. The culmination of Part 2 left investigators ready for the final stage: prosecution, trial, and ultimate justice. Every piece of the puzzle, from preserved physical evidence to eyewitness recollections and suspect admissions, had been verified and integrated. The narrative of Vanessa Hartman's disappearance was now complete, leaving only the courtroom to deliver the long-awaited resolution. The morning of the trial in Reno was tense with anticipation. The courtroom, filled with family members, friends, journalists, and residents who had followed Vanessa Hartman's case for decades, hummed with nervous energy. Linda and Marcus Hartman sat at the front holding hands, their faces lined with years of worry, grief, and hope. Their daughter had been missing for 30 years, and the possibility of answers finally seemed within reach. The prosecution began by portraying Vanessa as more than a missing person. Witnesses described her as a devoted mother, a hard worker, and a young woman full of warmth and intelligence. Stories from co-workers and neighbors emphasized her laughter, kindness, and meticulous nature, humanizing her for the jury. This narrative reminded everyone why justice was not just a legal obligation but a moral imperative. Detective Clara Vega presented the reconstructed timeline of August 12, 1995. Vanessa left the diner around 11:05 p.m., walked along West 2nd Street, and was last seen near the alley behind her apartment. Redford's movements, confirmed through utility records, employment logs, and witness accounts, placed him along her path at critical moments. Visual aids illustrated the route, the placement of fibers, and the locations where evidence was later recovered, providing a clear, comprehensive picture of the sequence of events. Forensic experts testified about the critical physical evidence. Dr. Jonathan Hayes explained how fibers collected from a bench and lamppost matched Redford's belongings and how preserved hair samples confirmed Vanessa's DNA. Fingerprints linked Redford to the scene near the diner. The scientific testimony, though detailed, was presented in accessible language so that the jury could grasp the significance of each piece of evidence. Witnesses from 1995 were brought back to testify. Although decades had passed, modern interview techniques helped refresh their memories. The shopkeeper who noticed a tall man near the diner recalled with guidance a figure matching Redford's appearance. Another witness remembered a man near the alleyway moments later, speaking to someone who resembled Vanessa. When combined with forensic evidence, these accounts created a robust narrative of what had transpired that night. Redford's defense attempted to question the reliability of decades-old memories and the integrity of preserved evidence. They argued that fiber matches could be coincidental, and that witness recollections were too faint to be trusted. The prosecution countered each claim with careful documentation, showing that evidence had been preserved correctly and testing methods validated scientifically. Each argument was systematically addressed, leaving little room for doubt. Cross-examination emphasized consistency. Each witness's account, supported by physical evidence, reinforced the timeline and sequence of events. Redford's own partial admissions were presented, demonstrating that even he could not deny the connections established by investigators. He had acknowledged being near Vanessa that night, attempting to minimize his involvement. Yet the details he confirmed aligned precisely with the reconstructed sequence. Vanessa's parents shared their memories of her daily life, habits, and personality. Linda described Vanessa's careful nature and devotion to her son, while Marcus spoke of her humor and unwavering determination. Their testimonies added emotional depth, illustrating the human impact of her disappearance and underscoring the need for justice. The jury saw not just a case but a life cut tragically short and a family's decades-long suffering. Behavioral analysis of Redford provided additional context. Patterns of loitering and minor offenses were examined, showing tendencies consistent with his actions on August 12, 1995. While this did not independently prove guilt, it reinforced the broader narrative and helped explain his behavior in the context of the crime. The combination of physical evidence, eyewitness accounts, and behavioral analysis created a comprehensive understanding for the jury. Throughout the trial, meticulous attention to detail was evident. Every fiber, hair, and fingerprint was presented, verified, and placed within the reconstructed timeline. Experts explained the significance of preserved evidence, showing how modern technology had allowed investigators to uncover truths that had remained hidden for decades. The narrative of patience, persistence, and scientific advancement became a central theme of the trial. As the trial progressed, community interest grew. Friends, former neighbors, and co-workers followed daily updates. Social media campaigns highlighted the importance of forensic advancements in solving long unsolved cases. The story of Vanessa Hartman became a symbol of hope, demonstrating that even the oldest mysteries could be resolved through dedication and technological innovation. Prosecution preparations had been exhaustive. Each witness was prepared, evidence verified, and presentations rehearsed to ensure clarity and coherence. Visual aids, maps, and timelines allowed jurors to follow the sequence of events intuitively. The courtroom became a space where decades of investigation, painstakingly documented, could be translated into an understandable and compelling story. Redford's demeanor remained composed, yet the weight of evidence was undeniable. His attempts to deflect or minimize involvement were systematically undermined by the forensic proof and corroborated witness statements. Every claim of coincidence was countered with verification and scientific validation. The prosecution's narrative was airtight, leaving no room for reasonable doubt. After several days of testimony, the jury deliberated. They examined the reconstructed timeline, the forensic analysis, witness accounts, and Redford's own admissions. They weighed the credibility of decades-old memories against the scientifically verified evidence, considering each element carefully. When the verdict was finally announced, the foreperson's voice filled the courtroom. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Michael Redford, guilty of first-degree murder and kidnapping." The announcement brought a wave of emotion. Linda and Marcus Hartman embraced tightly, tears streaming down their faces. Friends and community members shared quiet smiles, whispered prayers, and emotional embraces. The decades-long pursuit of justice had finally culminated in accountability. Redford was immediately remanded, beginning a sentence in a maximum security facility, where appeals and motions for retrial were unlikely to succeed, given the overwhelming evidence. The aftermath of the trial extended beyond the courtroom. For Vanessa's family, decades of uncertainty and grief were met with resolution. While the pain of loss could never be erased, the conviction provided closure and validation that their daughter's life and the injustice of her disappearance had been acknowledged. The Hartmans became advocates for cold case reform, emphasizing the importance of preserving evidence, re-examining old files, and pursuing justice regardless of time elapsed. Community responses were equally profound. Candlelight vigils and memorials celebrated Vanessa's life. Scholarships were established in her name, supporting students in education, journalism, and social services, honoring her dedication and compassion. Local organizations emphasized vigilance and the importance of protecting vulnerable individuals, inspired by the case's resolution. The narrative of perseverance and scientific advancement resonated widely, demonstrating that persistence can ultimately triumph over decades of uncertainty. Detective Clara Vega reflected on the broader impact of the case. She emphasized that even the most challenging cold cases could be resolved with careful investigation, proper evidence preservation, and modern forensic methods. Time may obscure facts, she said, but it does not erase the truth. Vanessa's story is proof that dedication, diligence, and technology can illuminate even the darkest mysteries. Vanessa's legacy became a source of inspiration. Her life, once tragically cut short, now served as a symbol of hope and resilience. Scholarships, memorial events, and community programs ensured that her memory endured. Friends and family shared stories of her humor, intelligence, and determination, keeping her presence alive in the hearts of those who knew her. The case also influenced law enforcement protocols. The Reno Police Department strengthened procedures for evidence preservation, cross-jurisdictional collaboration, and the application of modern forensic techniques to unsolved cases. Vanessa Hartman's story became a model for cold case resolution, demonstrating that persistence, scientific innovation, and meticulous investigation could deliver justice long after a crime occurred. For the Hartmans, advocacy became a vital part of their healing. They met with other families of missing persons, shared insights from their decades-long journey, and emphasized the importance of hope and persistence. Their efforts ensured that Vanessa's story not only achieved justice but also became a guiding light for others, seeking answers for their loved ones. Decades later, Vanessa Hartman's case remained a testament to human determination, investigative rigor, and the enduring power of truth. It illustrated that time, while long and often painful, could not diminish the importance of accountability,